Hello everyone and welcome to Now Is It Dawn? I am your host Dominic, or Shadowfury, and we have few replays by request today. Starting out, we have a match between PetTurtle and Strife40k on Otago. The Strife40k going for the tanks, PetTurtle going for Rovers, and this is actually a matchup I haven't seen on Otago yet. Normally when someone plays Otago, you usually see Cloakies because of all the hills. People, think, well, you want to use the hills, you want to just explore them and make the most of them, and of course you can't do that with rovers and tanks. But okay, there's a geothermal, a lot of geothermals actually that you won't easily get with vehicles, but at the same time it's a lot easier to traverse the map. You have more units that can actually do it quickly because this is a fairly large map. It's surprisingly light on resources considering how large it is, but it is a large map. It does require a lot of movement to get around. And already we're seeing PetTurtle starting out with the Fencer, because why not start a map that requires a lot of movement to get around by going with a unit that has to stop the fire? But to be fair, the Fencer is actually a really powerful defensive tool. At the same time, Strife40k going for a bit of a later Kodachi, starting out with a Welder, which makes sense. Welders can defend themselves just fine, and this map is large enough that you're not going to get harassed, or not likely. Cloaky start with a bunch of glaives would have hit the base by now, but it'd still be fine. I mean, the Kodachi's up, we can defend against it, no big deal. So at this point, both players know exactly what the other one's playing. They know each other's factories, and Strife40k might be under... Nah, they're not under any threat. Might be under some threat economically, though. PetTurtle, they've put on the pressure. Like, PetTurtle's just rapidly getting their economy expanded out, and Strife40k, on the other hand, is forced to play defense, not able to run the harassment. Probably PetTurtle won't be able to do much harassment themselves. I mean, the Scorcher's not going to be able to get any damage to the Welder without dying. There's a Lotus right there. So, not much harassment either way, but the point is, Strife40k's harassment is going to be slowed down to the point that by the time they get there, the Fencers will stop them. So PetTurtle has no concerns. They know exactly what Strife40k is up to. Strife40k, on the other hand, has no idea what PetTurtle's up to. As you can see, PetTurtle already sending in the Fencers into basically the right location to defend. So, at this point, I would say PetTurtle does have the advantage. Strife40k being a bit clever, though, splitting out their Kodachis, just to at least get some scouting, and they're not going to be able to get a whole lot of damage in if PetTurtle plays this right, but they will be able to at least see what's going on, at least in theory. On the other hand, Scorcher's coming in here, double-checking the northwest. Very good play, PetTurtle, making sure that there is nothing built there. That I've seen a few times in this map. So a player will just expand over to the northeast or southwest, northwest or southeast, and that'll be it. Like, they'll have it. They'll hold on to it. It never gets contested. At this point, though, I don't think PetTurtle's going to be able to actually do that. They might be able to stop the Kodachis from advancing, but they're certainly not going to be able to do any raiding of their own. Thankfully for them, Strife40k hasn't actually built up to the northwest yet, but if they had, they would be well defended by now. Also, why are the Fencers over here? Strife40k, for the record, does have radar. People are talking about that. Oh, not good enough. But they knew Kodachis were coming in that direction. I don't know why the Fencers didn't go in position. I think they were afraid of an attack from the bottom because that's the most direct path, but the Kodachis were coming from up top. At any rate, that does leave the Kodachis with a bit of an opening to work with. At least the ones that are coming in towards the top side of the base are going to be somewhat defended against. There's a Fencer up there. But the ones at the bottom, there is nothing stopping them from getting over to this Mason. This metal extractor's dead. Mason wisely being pulled back to the cover of the Lotus, while at the same time Kodachi going on the north side, letting Strife40k actually get quite a bit of damage in there, getting over to metal extractor, closing up a few power plants, and overall just highly disrupting PetTurtle's plans to expand. The only upside being that PetTurtle was already ahead in economy, so this harassment kind of makes them even, but not much more. Although to be fair, that second metal extractor being destroyed is going to be a bigger blow than it looks. At the same time, PetTurtle continuing to just build more Kodachis, get their own power infrastructure up. They're not going to be doing too badly. I mean, they got power infrastructure for days. PetTurtle, they're in a bit of a tighter position. The power infrastructure is getting harassed. They're not getting destroyed, but the solar plants don't do anything when they're close, so the Kodachis are still doing good work. I mean, the setting the things on fire, keeping them close for longer, that keeps PetTurtle's power infrastructure from being that great. Takes longer for PetTurtle to get themselves back on their feet. I mean, at this point, they've lost 3 metal extractors to those Kodachis, just due to the Fencers not being in quite the right position. And I know people go on about radar all the time, and that's why it's super important. Also, it should be finished. I don't know why this radar is like 99% complete or 95% complete. But yeah, radar is super important for that reason alone. It's really hard to actually get around your opponents if they know where you are, and it's really easy if they don't. And PetTurtle right now is pretty much entirely in the dark as about the Kodachi positions. Like, they know because of their commander, but that's about it. They don't actually know anything outside the line of sight. On the other hand, Strife40k is just using the fact that they're applying this pressure to continue along, continue expanding, not really worrying about anything else. They're just pushing. Now, to be fair, PetTurtle hasn't been losing a lot of forces to these assaults. They've been losing some economy, and they haven't been building as quickly, but they haven't actually been taking a lot of army losses. So whatever they've built, they've maintained. And that means that over time, PetTurtle will likely be able to go into a counterattack. A Strife40k, they are losing forces. Like, there's a negative attrition on their end. It's not by much, but it is still something. So Strife40k's investments right now are mostly in the late game, and if PetTurtle is able to rebuild quickly, which admittedly they aren't, they're focused much more on setting up that counterattack. But were they to go and rebuild quickly, they'd be able to then rebuild, get their army up. They have a larger army as it is, and then be able to push in. And not just a larger army, one that would pretty well counter what PetTurtle's building so far. Like, PetTurtle's got some Kodachis, sure. They got a Blitz, but Ravagers and Rippers, those would rip them to shreds. Not to mention the Fencers being able to stop the Kodachis and Blitzers from really even getting close. So right now, PetTurtle, they're not in a great spot economically, but if they go for a counterattack right now, they might actually be able to push through, because Strife40k has gotten a little bit overconfident. They have the Welders around their metal extractors, they have a couple defenses here and there, but PetTurtle could push in with the forces they have. They would be able to deal quite a bit of damage. Probably lose some of them in the process, but it'd be worth it. Actually, if this army is destroyed by the Fencers, that would be the time to push. At this point, the Fencers are losing out in the process. Like, this is not free, but it's actually fairly surprisingly effective. One Kodachi manages to sneak through. That's the one that manages to get... That's the only thing. That's it. But at this point, PetTurtle could go for a counterattack and be fine. I don't know if they will. I don't see any indication that they are planning to. They have everything basically on defense. They've thrown in a few Scorchers here and there to scout out, but I don't think they're aware that Strife40k has basically nothing. Like, that PetTurtle could just rush in with their force and actually deal a lot of damage without Strife40k being able to do much about it, but I don't know. What I do know is that Strife40k is... They're basically just on borrowed time here if PetTurtle were to go to attack. The only downside, though, is PetTurtle's on borrowed time if Strife40k decides to hold back, not attack with their forces, and then rush in with a bunch of Minotaurs and Ogres, which Strife40k could very well do. The only reason they haven't is because they've been largely focused on building up their economy. They've been getting... How many welders do they have? They have 7 welders so far. They've been consistently building them this entire game, and for good reason. Not to mention all these pickets here, which is kind of ridiculous, actually. 8 pickets in one area, that's, well, 800 metal. It's not super expensive, but still kind of pricey for what it does. But still, like I said, Strife40k, they're losing a lot of forces to PetTurtle right now. And that's actually kind of even. Like, it's a lot more even than I would have expected. But I think that attrition is primarily because metal extractors were destroyed. In terms of army value, no, that is not the case. And here's the counterattack. This is what I'm expecting to actually show what I was talking about. Maybe the amount of pickets that have been built up, that's a potential problem, mind you. That's actually one of the things I think could turn this around, unless some Impalers were built, or possibly Badgers. But Impalers would be the one I'd go for to get through this. But even then, the Ravagers should be able to just power through, just tank all the hits and rush in. That worked just fine, not to mention the Fencers able to get in from almost out of range. So really, the pickets don't have a whole lot that they're defending with. And there's not much behind it either. I mean, there's, what, 1 Blitz? How many Kodachis are being built up? None. There's an Ogre. But yeah, no Kodachis, no Blitzes. This is all Welders. And the Welders do have a weapon, and they are able to build up more defenses. But this is limited. Like, the amount of firepower that is available for PetTurtle compared to Strife40k, it's definitely in PetTurtle's favor. I just kind of wish they'd set up more production capacity to actually, make use of the metal they have. And they are indeed getting caretakers. So they got that. It's just, they're also going to need more power to make that totally work. So there's still some economic issues there. However, they have an attack. They can cover it with this attack. So yeah, they've got some issues. They've also put Strife40k a bit on the back foot. Now, that being said, Strife40k does have enough build power. They can easily just get back at this. Getting up their own emissaries. They have got their own ogres too. This attack from PetTurtle, it's going to have a bit of trouble going forward. The Blitz is certainly causing some issues as well, making sure the Ravagers have a harder time actually tanking. But that being said, the Fencers are still quite numerous. They're still doing their job. And the Ogre, I mean, once it starts getting targeted, it's going to be difficult for it to stay alive. And by difficult, I mean impossible. Managed to get a couple Fencers in the process, but still, PetTurtle, They managed to destroy about 4,000 metal worth of Strife40k's forces, losing only about 1,500 metal of their own. That was efficient. And in the process, expanding behind that as well. So PetTurtle able to get back the map, able to get back quite a lot in terms of metal production. They just need to get 2 or 3 more caretakers and they'll be fine forever. Getting their economy up in general. That's the main benefit of all that attacking. Of course, the thing is, Strife40k is still kind of vulnerable. Like, PetTurtle could attack. I agree with them not attacking. They don't necessarily know what's happening. They do have radar there, so they can see that there are things. They don't necessarily know what they are, but the fact that stuff is available for Strife40k to defend with, that's known. Also, now that the emissaries are up, that's also known, because emissaries are pretty strong. They are essentially the tank skirmisher, and that might need to be a little bit adjusted. I think this splash damage could be reduced, honestly. How much? Actually, what's the splash range? 48 ammo? Oh, 48 ammo isn't that wide. No, it should be fine. Also, Scorch is coming in here to deal with that, so ultimately this is still fine. Like, the thing is, emissaries are still... They still suffer the same problems as most skirmishers, which is they have very little HP, and they are quite slow. So assault forces can deal with them somewhat. Raiders can deal with them particularly effectively. The Ogre causes some problems, but again, that's kind of all Strife40k has as far as any kind of military. A couple emissaries and Ogres, but again, they also have 50 metal per second coming in and using all that for building. On the other hand, PetTurtle, they've got 30 in their base, and they got a lot of excess. I really wish they wouldn't... If they didn't excess, they'd have won by now. Honestly. If they hadn't been accessing this entire game, they would have an army... Actually, what is their excess? Let's find out what their excess is. I believe it's about 2,000, but that's intuition. 1443. Okay, I'm a little overkill on that one. But still, they are accessing quite a lot. 1,600 metal, that is another 12 Scorcher, or 12 Fencers. Seeing as that's their main army, it makes sense to compare that. But yeah, that's 12 Fencers. That's another 6 Ravagers. Like, that army, compared to what they have now, and what they brought in beforehand, that would have won them the game by now. This is why excess is such a big deal. And it's just getting worse, too, because now they have 2,000 metal excess. So now it's more like 8 Ravagers. That's the thing. Like, that is a lot of metal, a lot of units that could have been built that aren't, and also a lot of reinforcements that could have been built right now but aren't. Honestly, I would actually recommend that PetTurtle builds an air factory, gets some owls, and uses that to figure out what the heck's going on with Strife40k. But at any rate, spending the money is still ideal. Whatever way they do so, if PetTurtle didn't access, or wasn't accessing, they'd be in such a good position right now. And it looks like finally they are... How are they managing to build... Oh, I see. Yeah, their commander is able to build some stuff up, getting some more metal. Sure, getting some more defenses. Not bad. But there's no reason not to have the caretakers for the factory. Like, if you're worried about what's going to be built faster or slower, there's the priority system. So you can set the construction priority if you want to make sure the factory isn't getting in the way of defenses, or you can set builder priority to high if you want to make sure that the factory's not getting in the way for that particular builder or for your commander. That makes it a lot easier to actually get your production controlled rather than relying on building... I don't know if that's the plan. It just seems like it might be. But if that is the idea, you don't need to go with that. No, this isn't Battle Royale. Did Twitch not update again? Is Twitch really being that much of a pain in the ass? Because I told it 0K. And it says Battle Royale. What the... Ah, damn it, Twitch. I told you what it was I'm doing. Stupid platform. I hit update information and it doesn't do what I tell it to. Sorry. Whining about Twitch. That's not really what I need to do right now. What I need to do is talk about the game. Whine about the fact that people are accessing metal. PetTurtle finally getting... Nope, not getting more metal. Okay, they are not getting another factory. That's actually Strife40k. Getting the gunship plant. But yeah, I'm not sure who wins this. I honestly am thinking it's Strife40k for the simple reason that Strife40k is spending their money. Although, to be fair, PetTurtle is doing some really nice construction in the field. They're managing to secure a pretty solid front line. They have a Cornea up. They could turn that into an Iris and use that to really bring their superior army into a superior position, get close to the pillagers, or emissaries, rather. But I don't see that happening. I think this is just being used to hide the firebase, like hide the forces in the firebase to make it a lot harder to actually assault it. but I don't know. Again, I don't understand why that's the approach right now. PetTurtle has had an army advantage for most of this game. They'd have a much larger army advantage with 2 more caretakers in their base. I really don't get it. So, yeah, at any rate, though, they are managing to get through the emissaries. So that is the important thing for them. They're managing to actually break through the skirmisher lines. Unfortunately for them, the ogres were already prepared for that. I mean, they did manage to get... I can't believe how much Strife40k actually lost, because their ogres were just slightly out of position there. PetTurtle was able to get in and wipe out almost all the emissaries. But again, Strife40k is spending their money, so they're able to get back the emissaries no problem, whereas PetTurtle only has 30 build power going into their factory out of 70 metal. Again, I don't understand, and for those of you wondering, they are accessing. Their commander's just dead. Died to some emissaries. They have no storage left. So PetTurtle just lost another 500 metal or so to excess. They have 4,000 metal excess right now. Like, their army value is ahead. That's the thing to bear in mind. Their army value is slightly ahead. It has been ahead of Strife40k this entire game, and has been keeping pace recently. But their excess, like, it's no longer really keeping pace, because their excess of 4,000, they'd have twice the size of the army as PetTurtle. And that's on top of the fact that they're ahead of Strife40k by defenses as well. I mean, Strife40k seems to have been... Have they been upgrading the commander? I think they have been. That's the one difference. But otherwise, no. Strife40k is way ahead just because of the fact that they're spending all their money. This is the thing I'm going to harp on for the rest of the game, because that is... This is a game that I was requested as a thing to say, hey, what happened, the things, what we can learn, what can I do to play better? The answer is make sure that whatever money you have in the bank, you have enough caretakers to be able to actually spend that money. It's a mistake I make all the time, too. It's really easy to forget about that when you're caught up with combat in the front lines. But basically, have enough caretakers so that you can spend all the money. Like, if you're spending nothing else and you're just building units in the factory, make sure you have as many caretakers as the amount of metal you're taking in can spend. Caretakers are 10 each, so just divide by 10. Like, divide by 10, maybe subtract 10 because the factory already deals with it, but just divide by 10. Divide by 10, have that many caretakers. That way, you're never going to run out. If you start reclaiming metal, you're still going to be able to spend it. If you get a bunch of metal extractors, you're not going to have to worry about building an extra caretaker for a little while. It gives you some buffer space. So yeah, take the number of caretakers, or take the number of amount of metal you have coming in, divide by 10, build that many caretakers. Round it down. I mean, you can round up if you want to, but you don't need to build that many caretakers. That's 2 extra caretakers at that point if you round up. But yeah, round down. At this point, though, PetTurtle is building the air factory. They are not, however, building any owls. The raptors aren't a bad idea. I mean, they're dealing with the nimbuses. Like, that's the entire reason. They want to get rid of this nimbus. Although, overall, I would say that PetTurtle has been playing very reactively. I mean, I like the use of the fencer. I like the way the assault worked earlier. But, like I said, they didn't know what was going on in Strife40k's base. They could have built an air factory way sooner. They could have built an air factory 10 minutes ago. Or maybe 10 minutes ago? Definitely 5 minutes ago. No, 10 minutes ago. Yeah, they could have easily built an air factory 10 minutes ago, gotten an owl, used that to figure out what the heck was going on, realized that a push would have been the successful move at that point in the game, and then gone for it. At this point, Strife40k is essentially doubling their economy. And that's a huge economy. PetTurtle is not doing badly for economy, but Strife40k, largely through Reclaim, is doubling it. Because, again, they had a bunch of welders built from the beginning. 17 welders in play. I mean, that's how you play tanks, gotta say. That's definitely being played right. Strife40k, I like their style. But, at the same time, PetTurtle may not, because PetTurtle is currently having a bit of a hard time dealing with the fact that they are way behind in metal. They've only just recently built the caretakers needed to actually use the metal they have, and they accessed about 4,000, 5,000 metal in the process. Oh, yeah, and also Strife's got an overdrive network that's going. That's pretty recent, though. They were mostly getting off Reclaim until just now. But yeah, their overdrive plus 25, the Reclaim going between plus 10 and plus 40. Like, Strife40k is having a wonderful time, economically speaking. They're having to be a little bit careful with the use of their forces, but now they're good. And they got Dante's coming in pretty soon. They're probably going to get... Honestly, I'm kind of surprised they aren't getting any Cyclopses, but then again, emissaries are the way to go these days. Although, to be fair, I'm actually kind of surprised they aren't getting more emissaries either. They only have this one right here. But at any rate, Strife40k just basically needs to push. They have a metal advantage. They've been spending all their metal. Their attrition is not great. PetTurtle is definitely a bit better at the tactical element of the game, but it doesn't even matter. If PetTurtle is not using the money they have, then they're not going to be able to keep up. But to be fair, PetTurtle is actually doing a fine job setting up their defenses. And at this point, they might be going... Yeah, they're going to go down to the south side where there's nothing to stop them. Deal a little bit with some of Strife40k's further out expansions. It's not going to deal a huge blow, but it's still something. I mean, you keep doing that consistently, and PetTurtle could turn this around. Honestly, though, PetTurtle is fighting uphill battle. Largely because they had a bunch of metal, they didn't spend the metal, and now they don't have the metal. Now they're spending all the metal, but they don't have it to spend it. Just finally playing catch-up. And their opponents have a bunch of Nemesis. Thankfully for them, they did think quickly and set up a few chainsaws of their own, so that at the very least, they're not screwed. It's just tough. But they're not screwed, and they did manage to get rid of a couple more metal extractors, so Strife40k not as far ahead, but still pretty far ahead. And again, Fencers, they're flex AA, but against Nemesis, they're not going to win. I'm actually kind of surprised PetTurtle is not moving away with this. Like, these Nemesis, they're not going to die to the Fencers. They're just going to kill them. The chainsaws, that can take care of the Nemesis no problem. In fact, that's the main reason why PetTurtle still has a chance in this game, is that one chainsaw. But even then, it's only going to be able to attack to about... Where exactly is it? Yeah. Its attack range, yeah, about here. Honestly, this is what I mean. The Fencers should have moved north. If the Fencers had moved just a little bit north into the range of the chainsaw, then that would have forced the Nemesis either to back off or would have gotten them killed. And then the Fencers could have moved in and started dealing with all the pickets and everything else that had been built up. I mean, I don't know if I would recommend that anyway, because, again, there is a stinger, and that stinger's... And there's a path. You can see the bottom section here. Come on. The bottom section here, the Fencers could have driven through that, but okay, fair enough. And actually, what does PetTurtle know about this? Okay, PetTurtle has very little knowledge of what's going on in Strife40k's base. Again, despite the fact that they have an air factory and could get an owl, on the other hand, Strife40k knows most of what's going on up to about the midpoint of the map. They know roughly where PetTurtle has set up some of their stuff. But again, PetTurtle mostly has their forces set up inside of a cloaking device. That's generally a bit of a problem. So yeah, Strife40k, it's kind of funny. They actually have a territory disadvantage, but because of their really strong overdrive network, they're doing fine. And on top of the fact that, because of the fact that they spent their money, they're also doing fine. There's nothing really in their way. The only problem is they're a little bit less defended in the south. PetTurtle could take more territory than them. And PetTurtle theoretically has more control over the skies. I mean, in terms of anti-air, PetTurtle's got that locked down. The Nemesis aren't really causing a whole lot of threat. The Raptors can just deal with it. So honestly, all that really needs to be done here for PetTurtle is to get a little bit more money, maybe get an owl, figure out what's going on with Strife40, and use that information to win. Like, figure out the weak points and go in, because there's a lot of weak points. Strife40k's army is primarily just emissaries in this Dante. That's it. If you look at army value again, PetTurtle and Strife40k are almost even, and most of Strife40k's army, half of Strife40k's army value is this one Dante. So if that gets destroyed, either by, say, a massive amount of ravens, or by, oh, I don't know, being dug into the ground, although actually doing that with Dante is a bad idea. I do not recommend. Dantes deal too much damage to make that viable. Or just in general being torn apart by the defenses that have been already built up. The Dante is going to be actually not that valuable. And on top of that, the Revenant here, likely to be taken out by the chainsaw. The Dante, not quite in time to take out the chainsaw to be able to keep the Revenant alive. Although the Revenant might survive? No, it's not going to survive. The Dante can't even hit the chainsaw efficiently enough. That's a downed Revenant. PetTurtle, again, maintaining a really strong force as far as attrition goes. Not using the Ravens to deal with the Dante, but building air pads. Good on you. Good on you, PetTurtle. You built some air pads. Last week when I casted some games, I was pointing out that air pads would have really helped one of the players, and they're building air pads, and they're dealing with that Dante. This is what I mean. Got the bombers, got the Dante dealt with, got the air pads. They got a nice defensible position for the air pads too. I like it. Like I said, PetTurtle's tactical play has been quite on point. The problem is that they haven't been really playing the economic game well. So Strife40k has been able to get an advantage on them that way, but PetTurtle's still been able to build up an army, keep attacking where they need to, as long as they know what's there. They sent the Ravens in, they got the information, and now they're making good use of the information. Go to the south side of the map where they know there's basically nothing. There's a stinger, but for an army to this size, it does not matter. They can get rid of the chainsaw here, open things up for the Ravens. They have the Crashers to actually get rid of all the air forces trying to come in and stop them. And, of course, if the chainsaw is gone, then now the Raptors can get in and deal with Revenant and Nimbus. So, at this point, this is actually a really strong position that PetTurtle has to play with, at least tactically. Especially now that the chainsaw is gone, they can come in and deal with the Dante. And, granted, this is a suicide mission for all of PetTurtle's forces, but let's be honest, PetTurtle has been very efficient when have been approaching this game up to now. And they're still more efficient. They've still got a massive attrition advantage. At this point, the attrition advantage arguably does offset the fairly large metal excess from earlier in the game. Because again, that was 5,000 metal excess, but they are 6,000 metal ahead for attrition, so... no, not bad. Not great, but not bad. Like, it does seem like they're coming back on that. The main asset, of course, being this massive chunk of ravens. How many ravens are there? 17 ravens. So you got 17 ravens. That's 800 damage per raven. I think they can actually split... no, one per Strider. One per Dante. But yeah, this entire swarm of ravens, or this entire murder of ravens, could come in, deal with the Dante, and that would be it. If the Cobras would go down first. Or Ettins, rather, would go down first. Of course, the Ettins are not going down first, but, you know, if they did, then it'd be fine. Actually, that's a bit of a problem here, is that ravens haven't gone down. They are being constructed fairly quickly, but it's the fact that they didn't go for the Dante means the ground forces are going to have a harder time holding their own for PetTurtle. Strife40k, however, not going for the attack, despite having 2 Dantes, and honestly, having a bit of an advantage for army size. And by a bit, I mean 5,000 metals worth. Like, even if both Dantes die, at this point, Strife40k is now ahead. Like, they're solidly ahead. Because, again, more money on their side. The great overdrive network, the strong reclaiming, the fact that they have been gradually pushing against PetTurtle's forces. Like, they got rid of PetTurtle's firebase, using that defensive emplacement for themselves, and there's not a whole lot that's stopping them. The Ravens are certainly slowing them down, but again, Strife40k just has such a massive economic advantage, it's hard to really keep them down for any length of time. And again, PetTurtle's been doing fine tactically, it's just that not, like, phenomenally better than their opponents. They've been doing fine, they haven't been doing perfect. So ultimately that does mean that they lose out. They lose some ravens, they don't get rid of the Dantes, they're losing parts of their base, losing some of their territory. Gradually, but inevitably, PetTurtle is going to be falling unless they've... man, what do they even do here? Not sure there even is like one unit they could use. If they manage to hold off the Dantes, then sure, there's a decent chance. And like I said, they're doing fine with the defenses. This Dante is down. Cyclops should fall soon afterwards. Although I'm not sure, because the Cyclops isn't really taking a lot of damage either. And again, the Emissary is going down. Again, this is PetTurtle just being quite the tactician. Getting rid of this Emissary so that the rest of their forces can come in along the south side of the map. And again, the south side of the map is the one that's less well defended by Strife40k, so it's good to put pressure on that. In the northern side, Strife40k's got that locked. So don't bother there. Just get rid of the Cyclops, get rid of the Dantes. And of course, the more they get rid of inside of PetTurtle's territory, the more that are gotten rid of in a way that PetTurtle can reclaim. And that would be the way that PetTurtle can get back in the game. How many Masons do they have? That's not a Mason. That is a Mason. They have 2 Masons. Why do they have 2 Masons? That's actually one of the big reasons they've had a hard time building up economically. Earlier in the game when I said they should build more caretakers, they had hardly any Masons, and thus it meant they couldn't easily build up the Masons in their base, or use the Masons in their base to build up more Masons and build up more stuff and just use all that metal. And that means that they're still, well, again, their attrition is still doing fine. It's making up for the excess. They can't easily reclaim. Now that they don't have those Masons to go in and get rid of this giant field of reclaim, which Strife40k has been doing, and that reclaim, taking advantage of the reclaim has been a big reason Strife40k has been able to do as much as they have. Just massing Dante. They're massing Dantes the way that you'd mass, like, Nimbuses. Like, they're massing Dantes like you'd mass, maybe mass Revenant is still quite a bit, but they're massing Dantes. I'm actually kind of surprised they're not going for a well, no, not Bantha, a Detriment maybe. I mean, you can get some pretty expensive single-use things. Oh, Paladin, right. Paladin's what I'm thinking of. I was thinking Bantha, but yeah, it's called Paladin now. Kind of surprised they're not getting a Paladin, though, honestly. I wouldn't recommend it. This is a large map that needs to have stuff covering in multiple angles, but still, that would be interesting. That would be unlikely, but it'd be interesting. And again, PetTurtle, the fact is that they are attacking quite effectively. They are managing to take out a lot of forces as they attack, and they are being efficient on the attrition, so it's not like Strife40k can just hold back and, I don't know, build a Trinity or something, get a nuke up. Like, that isn't going to happen, because anytime they get attacked, you know, they've got to... Strife40k has to defend well, because PetTurtle can still do a lot of damage with any of these attacks, which they have been. These Ravagers, my goodness, the value in these Ravagers. Unfortunately, they're going to hit that fusion plant and break it and probably die in the process. If they can be careful and get away from it before it explodes, they have a chance, but no! They were all too close to the fusion plant. Fusion plant taking them all out, stopping that entire assault. Does damage Strife40k's power and overdrive a bit, but nowhere near enough. Not as much as the Ravagers could have done. They had been retargeted or told to hold fire. They could have gone past that, killed the fusion plant, stayed alive, killed the next fusion plant, and kept going. Not bad, but not great. However, that does mean that it's possible for PetTurtle to at least have an idea of what's there. That's good. May not be good enough. Not with mass Revenants, mass Nimbuses, mass Dantes coming in here. Like, PetTurtle, you've been efficient, but you haven't been building enough. And I hesitate to go in about the excess from earlier. It's just that, like I said, it led to a situation where this game could have gone on this long. That's more what it is that it went on this long. Strife40k has a stronger approach on the macro side, which generally benefits the later game, or generally is benefited in the later game. It's a lot harder to set that up. Yeah, the thing is that it's just... Oh, yeah, okay, so people in the chat making references to World War II about how this is like... What was it? Oops. I don't want to part of that. How this is like the... I guess the Eastern Front in World War II. Germany's being more efficient, Russia's being more numerous. Although in that case, yeah, this is going about the same way. I mean, the one difference being that PetTurtle's forces aren't just dying to, you know, snow and the lack of resources. Although, to be fair, Strife40k is doing a great job of picking up all the resources, so if PetTurtle were to just run through here, there'd be no reclaim left. I wouldn't say it's scorched earth, but it sure is efficient. At least economically. So what right now, PetTurtle, I don't know what I'd say to do. Other than, like I said, reclaim more. Get a bunch more Masons. Try to rebuild quickly. Like, the thing is, Strife40k is just operating on a hold to the level. They have mass Revenants, they have mass Dantes, they have mass Cyclops. The only way I could think to get rid of this with the forces available, like, that could be built, would either be Dominatrix, Lico. Thunderbird's not a bad idea, actually. Thunderbird's... That's another one I'd go for. Or switch off to something like Spider Factory and get a bunch of Venoms. Sorry, Venoms. Widows. Get a bunch of Widows. Like, that is a thing that could help. But that's a desperation move. Like, that is one of the things where I think, yes, you could help with that. It might do the trick. It would also be a problem. Like, it would also be one of those things where you'd be doing it, and you'd also be diverting resources away from your frontline forces and hoping that you get enough Widows in to actually stun things. I think at this point it's about 12 if you wanted to stun all these forces and actually get through with a follow-up. That's not counting all the air forces. Like, the Revenants would be a problem just on their own. 7 Revenants right there. Now, there are a decent number of Crashers, but not for 7 Revenants. Like, 7 Revenants are going to take out this entire army as soon as they meet. So that's the problem here, is that there's really not much PetTurtle can actually do to survive that first volley, because the sheer amount of alpha damage that Strife40k has. They can run away, and okay, that's not a bad idea, actually. Just bait the Revenants out and try to take them out that way. But even then, that's not dealing damage. That's just delaying the inevitable. Yeah, so that's the thing. PetTurtle, more efficient. Strife40k, way more economically developed. Actually, that's the thing PetTurtle... Here's the thing PetTurtle hasn't done, is overdrive. People have been pointing that in the chat, and I should be mentioning that myself. Strife40k has 2 fusion plants and a geoplant. Surprisingly not Moho Geo, or the advanced geoplant, but still. They have they have a geoplant, fusion plants, they're all set. Strife40k has none of that. They don't have a geoplant, they don't have any fusion plants. PetTurtle. They basically went with the idea that, well, I have enough power to power my stuff. I don't need more energy for this. I'm good. Rather than thinking, if I get more energy, I get more overdrive. I can't take... There's no more terrain to take. There's no more territory to take. The only way to build up is reclaim and overdrive. Because that's a big reason Strife40k is as far ahead as they are, is, like, they don't have that many more metal extractors. They haven't for most of the game. In fact, for most of the game, PetTurtle and Strife40k have been, like, I think 2 or 3 metal extractors apart, but Strife40k was ahead by 20 metal because of overdrive. Metal overdrive, 30k versus 8k. People pointing that out in chat. Yeah, that's 4 times the overdrive. 4 times the reclaim. And PetTurtle accessed a bunch. So really, like, Metal income was largely determined by the overdrive and reclaim for Strife40k. That's a big reason they got what they had. The excess came up, but if you go by attrition numbers, that by the numbers wasn't a problem. By the numbers, it kept things relative. It didn't really matter too much. By the actual game result, though, Strife40k would have lost if PetTurtle didn't excess. Like at the 15-minute mark, PetTurtle would have had twice the army size, would have been able to just steamroll Strife40k. That would have been it. So yeah, the game was lost because it went on too long, and PetTurtle didn't build up to the late game what Strife40k did, and PetTurtle didn't take advantage of the resources when they had them, and Strife40k did. So yeah, that was a neat little game, though. That was definitely a game to showcase how important it is to actually build up the late game economy, and how important it is to make use of the economy when you have it. So thanks for requesting that. I believe that was requested by Strife40k, actually. So cool. Anyway, next game is going to be one between Kingstad and Steel Blue. This is one I've been asked to do by basically everyone involved. So yeah, we'll have that in a sec. So stay tuned. It's going to be neat. Apparently it's a vehicle match on Titan Duel. And I'm interested, sort of. I mean, Titan Duel is one of those maps that typically goes for vehicles, so it's not too unusual. But, we'll see what happens. Could be neat. Anyway, stay tuned. Back in just a minute.